Welcome to another UFC predictions video as we have UFC 303 taking place this Saturday, June 29th. Just going to give my predictions for the main card. And remember, as always, that the card is subject to change. Obviously, we've had a bunch of changes on this card. Jamal Hill is no longer fighting Khalil Roundtree. Jamal Hill is no longer fighting Carlos Ulberg. Carlos Ulberg is no longer fighting. And, of course, the big blow to the card. Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler are both not fighting. Chandler's going to still hold out. I think Michael Chandler should have taken another fight because we don't know when Conor's going to be back. I think maybe August or September. So I think he could have taken another fight just to have another fight on his resume. But with all that said, before I give my predictions for the main card, just a few things. If you're a fan of the UFC and you like YouTubers that give prediction videos, as well as YouTubers that react to fights. Now, I don't show the fight just because I'm going to get a lot of copyright strikes if I do that, and it would be a waste of time. But if you want to see a legit reaction to a fight, then make sure that you hammer fist the like button. Share this video with a friend, any friends that you know that like UFC or MMA in general. Put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Don't forget to sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on this card. What are your predictions? What are your thoughts? Any future fight predictions that you have, or any future fights that you want to see? There's fights that I want to see, so if you want to talk about that too, leave that in the comment section. At the end of this video, with about 20 seconds left, what I'll do is I'll put my 2023 fight reaction highlight reel. If you haven't seen that already, I'll put that right about here, the link to that video. It's like 20 minutes long, but I show all the fun reactions that I gave in 2022, or big moments in fights that I got really excited about. And then down here, with again about 20 seconds left, I'll put the Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill reaction from UFC 300, a very popular video on the channel right now. And then right here, I'm not sure what I'll put. And then right here, I'm not sure what I put. I'll put different reactions. Probably Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. And then whatever else I think of. But just make sure you click on those videos if you have any interest to maybe see how I react to things. And I don't always get it right when I do commentary. Or some of my reactions might be delayed because I'm not ready to jump out of my chair yet. But just keep in mind, I love reacting to fights. And I hope you enjoy them as well. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. You are watching the video anyway. Join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDev TV. So, kicking things off in the UFC welterweight division, we have Michael Venom Page versus Ian Machado Gary in a fight that could be very close. Not a lot of people like Ian Machado Gary anymore, and honestly, I really liked him. I thought he was a really good fighter, and I still do think he's a good fighter. Everything outside the octagon, I don't know about. Machado Gary looked really good against the gatekeeper of the welterweight division, Neil Magny. Then he fought Jeff Neal, and I saw not very good Ian Machado Gary. He still got the job done, but the fight was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Maybe he's just scared of that Neil Magny or that Jeff Neal punching power, which hey, I would be too. Michael Venom Page, a guy that fought in Bellator for years, finally made his UFC debut. In March, or was it February? I can't remember what it was. He beat Kevin Holland, and Kevin Holland couldn't figure this out. Michael Venom Page comes in at awkward angles, throws these weird, wacky, crazy strikes, and it's very hard to prepare for a guy like Michael Venom Page. The blueprint to beat him is to take him down and hold him on the ground, or catch him with one really quick shot that happened one other time. He's only lost 2 fights in his professional career. I mean, Ian Machado Gary, he is the younger fighter. Michael Venom Page has a 5-inch reach advantage. They're both the same height. I'm going to go on a limb. I mean, theoretically, not a lot of takedowns come from Machado Gary or Michael Venom Page, but I think that would be the blueprint to beat the other fighter. But I think somehow, some way, Michael Venom Page is going to defeat Ian Machado Gary. Maybe some crazy strike will knock him out. I don't know, but I am predicting Michael Venom Page to win. And if Leon Edwards is able to beat Bilal Muhammad, I think it would be cool to see Leon Edwards versus Michael Venom Page for the welterweight championship. Of course, a lot of things have to happen for that fight to happen, but I also think Bilal Muhammad might have a chance to beat Leon Edwards. I know their first fight didn't look very good, but I think Bilal Muhammad is a lot better than people give him credit for. But with all that said, again, I'm picking Michael Venom Page to beat Ian Machado Gary. Next up in the women's bantamweight division, we have Macy Chasson versus Mayra Bueno Silva. Now, Bueno Silva is coming off of her loss at UFC 297 to Raquel Pennington for the vacant at the time UFC Women's Bantamweight Championship that Amanda Nunes, of course, retired with. I wasn't overly impressed with Bueno Silva. I predicted her to beat Raquel Pennington, and she did not look good at all. I don't remember what was going on. I kind of already forgot about it because it wasn't that memorable of a fight. And I don't know a lot about either of those. So she didn't look good. And now she's getting a fight against Macy Chasson, who is really good. She's a dog mentality. She's a big advantage. She has a big advantage when it comes to height, and a pretty big advantage when it comes to reach. I think she's more of a dog. She's an Ultimate Fighter winner. And, I mean, these girls are talented, but I just don't know which one's going to show up. I'm going to go with Macy Chasson to win the fight. I know that's a hard one to say, even though it's not that hard. But for some reason, sometimes I struggle with different names. But I'm going to go with Chasson to win the fight. I don't know exactly know how, but I wasn't very impressed with Bueno Silva. If Bueno Silva can beat Macy, great. Good for her. Let's keep fighting like this, because her fight against Raquel Pennington, she didn't look very good. Maybe the first round she looked okay, but after that it was like all downhill. You know what? I don't even remember what happened to that fight. I just remember I wasn't overly impressed at all with what I saw. And then next up in the light heavyweight division, we have the GOAT, Anthony Smith, the GOAT of the light heavyweight division, as well as the GOAT of the UFC. And he'll tell you that too, against a guy who's stepping up into the light heavyweight division from the middleweight division. That's Roman Dolidze. Anthony Smith, I don't like at all. I can't stand him. I used to like him, but I'm just so sick of him talking and giving his opinions on how he could beat this fighter and how he could beat this fighter and how he would do this against this fighter. And I'm just so sick of Anthony Lionheart Smith. And I did like him at one point. With that said, this is a fight that Anthony Smith can win. And I think he does beat Roman Dolidze. I don't know a lot about Dolidze. I know he's really good. It's probably going to be mostly a striking battle. Although Dolidze can mix it up and do a takedown or two. But Anthony Smith has really good jiu-jitsu, and he is a very skilled martial artist. If you don't have punching power that can knock you out, he'll survive in a fight. He'll be on the brink of being, stopped. The fight will be stopped, but he'll somehow get out of these precarious positions. But I don't think Dolidze has that dog mentality where he can get Anthony Smith in those positions, and I think Anthony Smith can capitalize. Hey, I hope Anthony Smith doesn't win, because I'm so sick of this guy. He's had way too many fights already. It's time for Anthony Smith to hang him up. I mean, he's like the gatekeeper of the light heavyweight division. If you got punching power, he's going to knock you out. But then the last fight that he fought, which was like a month ago, he was supposed to lose and won the fight, which was crazy. So people are not happy with that. I don't think anybody that's an MMA person that covers MMA on YouTube like that. But I am picking Anthony Smith to beat Roman Dolidze. Reluctantly, but I think this is a fight that Anthony Smith certainly can win, especially with Dolidze stepping up in weight. I think Anthony Smith is going to win the fight. But hey, I hope I'm wrong, because I do not like Anthony Smith anymore. I'll give him credit, but the guy has just got an ego where he shouldn't have an ego. What has he really done in MMA? He's beat a bunch of old guys. He went on a run where he beat Rashad Evans and he beat Shogun. That's not that impressive anymore, considering they were in the twilight of their career. Anyway, moving along, in the co-main event of the evening, a really fun fight in the men's featherweight division, we have Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez is like the phenom that they have now. The fans absolutely love him. And other than a loss to Mosvar Evloev, he's been really, really good. Obviously, we know Brian Ortega is really good too. He had a really good fight. Well, it was more one-sided against Alexander Volkanovski, but he got Volk in a choke. He was mounted guillotine, and somehow, some way, Alexander Volkanovski got out of that, which is crazy because that was tight. Brian Ortega is very skilled, especially when it comes to submissions and grappling. Diego Lopez is just a massive featherweight, 5'11", with a 72.5-inch reach. So he's got a little bit bigger of a reach than Ortega, because Ortega still has a 69-inch reach. But 5'11", and the man has power. I think this is a passing of the torch in the featherweight division. I'm going to pick Diego Lopez to win the fight, and maybe that's picking the guy that I like more. Ortega can do different things if he chooses to do so. I remember he came back against the Korean Zombie, shaved his head, and did nothing but wrestling. But, I don't know, Diego Lopez is so skilled at jiu-jitsu and how his submissions he can do, and he's got power, too, that I think Diego Lopez is going to beat Brian Ortega. I mean, he's the one that's kind of taught Alexa Grasso her submissions. Remember, she choked out Valentina Shevchenko, and that choke that looked really bad. Like, the coloring on Shevchenko's face was crazy. So, again, picking Diego Lopez. I don't know how popular of opinion that is. Ortega's good, but I just have a feeling this is a passing the torch, and Ortega's getting, well, I guess he's only 33. I thought he was like 35, but it is what it is. I'm still picking Diego Lopez to beat Brian T-City Ortega. And then in the main event of the evening for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship, the MVP of the UFC, the Light Heavyweight Champion, Alex Pereira, is facing Yuri Prochazka for the second time. Alex Pereira continuously comes through for the UFC, stepping in on short notice to fight these guys. He came in at UFC 295. He came in at 300, which we don't know what the main event initially was going to be for UFC 300. I don't think Dana White even knew. He just found two fighters that agreed to fight that the fans would really like when they got Pereira versus Jamal Hill, which I think Pereira was the good part. Jamal Hill, in my opinion, shouldn't have been main eventing a UFC card. He's just not that established yet. But Pereira has a big story behind him, all the things that he's accomplished in a short amount of time. This is their second fight. And Yuri Prochazka looked really good in the first round against Alex Pereira. But Pereira has a way of not getting stopped by submissions or not being done in by wrestling. He can survive, not really facing a lot of damage, and then he can win a fight with the frickin' left hook. And he finished Yuri Prochazka in their last fight. Now, some would argue that the fight was stopped a little bit prematurely. At one point, Yuri Prochazka went out. That's a fact. He admitted that. But, you know, sometimes they have to let these fighters utilize their warrior spirit. So that begs the question, does Mario Yamazaki deserve to come back to the, be an official for UFC fights again? Because he'll let somebody fight when they're done. I'm going to let them exercise their warrior spirit. So, I mean, this is a hard fight to predict because if Yuri really trains hard and really has a game plan, he's tough to beat. But I just cannot bet against Alex Pereira anymore. The guy is awesome. He's the MVP of the UFC. That left hook, he's got great kicks. He's good at grappling, better than what you think. He's trained by a UFC Hall of Famer or soon-to-be Hall of Famer in Glover Teixeira. And I think Alex Pereira gets the job done. Now, I hope that we have a much more exciting fight. Not saying that their last fight wasn't exciting, but I want to see a war. I want to see the fight go 4 rounds where we're just on our feet with every blow in the fight. That would be awesome. That would make this card really special. I don't know if that's what we're going to get, but I assume we're going to get the same game plan. Yuri's going to try to take him down more, but you got to watch out for the knee and you got to watch out for the left hook because that left hook will come and you'll be out of commission. I don't know how he gets the job done, but I am predicting Yuri Prochazka to lose to Alex Pereira, and then most likely Alex Pereira will move on to fight Magomed Ankalaev, probably at the Abu Dhabi card, even though Pereira says he doesn't want to fight there. I mean, it makes sense, unless they put it in December or something like that. Although I would be very happy if somehow, some way, John Jones decides, you know what, this guy's a draw. I want to fight Alex Pereira. After, assuming he beats Stipe Miocic, I would love to see that fight. Jones versus Pereira, where you have a guy that's a kickboxer versus a guy that's not as good as a kickboxer, but Jones can hold his own. But Jones' wrestling is really good, and Pereira has, a guy that trains him in Glover Teixeira, so that would be an exciting thing. But hey, everybody wants to see Jones versus Aspinall, which theoretically should be the next fight if Jones continues to fight, if he beats Stipe. But what happens if John Jones loses to Stipe Miocic? That's not something that's completely out of the question. People are underestimating Stipe. Stipe is really good. Ask Daniel Cormier that. Granted, a lot of years have passed since he beat Daniel DC Cormier twice, but Stipe is a really good guy. There's a reason why he's the best heavyweight of all time, and I think it's going to be a much tougher fight for John Jones. That said, I think Jones does beat him, but what happens if Jones loses that fight? Does he have to come back to try to write that off? But anyway, I'm talking too much about a fight that's not even happening on this card. Again, I'm picking Alex Pereira to win this fight and still be the UFC light heavyweight champion. So let me know what you thought of my predictions. I know some of them are wild. Make sure that you hammer fist that like button, share the video with a friend, put this video on any one of your social media platforms. Remember, sound off in the comment section about what your thoughts are on my predictions, predictions of your own, future fight predictions, and future fights that you want to see. Click right here for my 2023 fight reaction highlight reel. Click right here for UFC 300, Pereira versus Hill, Holloway versus Gaethje, and whatever I put down there. And then last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button, subscribe to the channel, join the team, show your damn support, and be a part of something special. And you never know what you're going to see on JDEV TV.